From our Toronto studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Zahra Syed. Our top story tonight. Over the past 24 hours, Gaza's health ministry reports that 54 Palestinians have been killed and 104 injured amid ongoing Israeli attacks. Israeli bombings killed 24 people, including 16 children and 6 women in Rafah in the southern region of Gaza. Rescue efforts have been hindered as many remain trapped under the rubble. Israeli bombing targeted a car in Deir al-Balah in central Gaza, causing several injuries. The aircrafts also targeted Palestinians in the area around the Al-Suraha cemetery in the Nusayrat refugee camp in central Gaza. Meanwhile, Israel's military intelligence head Major General Erhan Haliva has resigned, taking responsibility for failing to prevent Hamas's October 7th cross-border attack. Analysts suggest that his resignation reflects dissatisfaction with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's handling of the conflict. In Jerusalem, a car rammed into pedestrians, injuring 3. Footage from security cameras posted on several Israeli news websites showed a white car ramming into a group of people at a street corner. Spain's Foreign Minister José Manuel Alvarez is calling for a lasting ceasefire and warns of the repercussions if Israel goes ahead with an attack on Rafah. Hamas chief Ismail Haniyeh, in an interview with a Turkish broadcaster, has accused Israel of stalling ceasefire talks. At least 34,151 Palestinians have been killed and 77,084 wounded in Israel's war with Gaza since October 7th. The death toll in Israel from Hamas's October 7th attacks stands at 1,139, with dozens still held prisoners in Gaza. The Palestinian Civil Defense Agency has discovered a mass grave at Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis, where 283 bodies have been recovered since Saturday. Rescue teams are still searching for more remains. Families are desperate for closure, searching for missing loved ones since Israeli forces entered Khan Yunis months ago. 3 additional mass graves were found Monday, with 73 more bodies retrieved. The mass grave was discovered following the withdrawal of Israeli forces from Khan Yunis on April 7th. Around 700 people are missing. Palestinian spokesperson Ismail al-Thawabte alleges that many more bodies may still be missing, victims of alleged executions by Israeli forces. Earlier, a mass grave was discovered at Al-Shifa Hospital in Gaza, as well as after Israeli troops pulled out of the hospital complex in Gaza City after a 2-week military invasion. Israel stands accused of genocide at the International Court of Justice. An interim ruling demands cessation of genocidal acts and ensuring humanitarian aid to Gaza's civilians. 37 House Democrats dissented from a Republican-led measure to provide $26 billion more in aid to Israel. The Israel Security Supplemental Appropriations Act was adopted with 366 votes in favor and 58 against. Notable opposition came from Democrats, including centrists and progressives. Democratic strategist Walid Shahid termed it unprecedented, highlighting the growing concerns over complicity in tragedy. Notable dissenters include Representatives Jamie Raskin and Maxine Waters. The bill allocates funds for Israel's defense and Gaza's humanitarian aid. However, objections focus on unconditional military aid amid Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's non-compliance with the United States and international law. Democrats stress the need for a ceasefire and peace negotiations. The bill is part of a $95 billion foreign spending package, which is facing Senate review, with President Joe Biden expected to sign. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is vowing to resist United States sanctions aimed at the Israel Defense Forces' Netza Yehuda battalion. Reports suggest the State Department is preparing sanctions on the battalion, marking the first such action against the IDF unit. It has been accused of committing human rights violations in the West Bank, following accusations of serious misconduct against Palestinians. The sanctions have been proposed under the 1997 Leahy Law. They would stop the United States military aid transfers and restrict joint training programs involving the accused unit. The news comes as Congress approved $26 billion in emergency aid to Israel. The United States has announced new sanctions against multiple entities supporting extremist Israeli settlers in the West Bank, including the Mount Hebron Fund and Shlom Asirash. The measures have been announced by the Department of Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control. They come as a response to the group's involvement in fundraising for violent extremists Yinon Levy and David Chai Chashtai. Both were sanctioned in February for their roles in violence and harassment of Palestinians in the West Bank. The agency has emphasized its commitment to holding accountable those involved in settler attacks and notes the complicity of the sanctioned entities in supporting previously designated individuals. The Mount Hebron Fund and Asirash raised significant sums, $140,000 and $31,000 respectively, through their fundraising efforts. Additionally, Benzion Gopstein, founder of Lehava, an organization linked to the West Bank violence, has also been designated by the Department of State. The sanctions block access to any U.S.-held properties or interests of the designated entities, with potential penalties for financial institutions and people engaging in transactions with them. Despite arrests, protests for Palestine persist at Columbia University. Details come after the break. Stay tuned and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Columbia University has urged law enforcement agencies to arrest more than 100 pro-Palestinian demonstrators occupying a part of the campus lawn. Social media footage showed that on Friday, dozens of police outside the university gates, while inside the scene resembled a large picnic. Chants alternating between Free Palestine and reminders to tidy up and eat echoed from the loudspeaker. Hundreds of Yale University students are also protesting at the Bay Neck Plaza outside a board meeting to demand the institution divest from Israeli weapons manufacturing. According to organizers, they will not leave until Yale divests from all military weapons manufacturing. A Columbia University spokesperson says students involved in the encampment have been suspended, though an exact number was not provided. The spokesperson adds that the encampment has been removed, but they anticipate protests to persist. The United Nations has criticized the arrest of the students by the New York Police Department. In a letter to the NYPD Deputy Commissioner Michael Gerber, Columbia University and President Minouche Shafik said all of the students who have participated in the demonstration were told that they have been suspended. Several students were led to NYPD vans and transported off campus. In related news, Columbia University is embroiled in controversy as the censure of pro-Palestine professor Mohammed Abdu sparks outrage. 3 academics, including a visiting professor, have faced repercussions for defending Palestinian rights. Administrators, supported by politicians, have targeted dissenting voices. Tensions at the New York-based Ivy League college escalated last week as administrators called in police to tear down a student-organized anti-war and anti-genocide encampment. The crackdown drew widespread condemnation from students and activists. The influx of migrants into Chicago has stirred controversy as locals feel overlooked amid the city's efforts to accommodate them. Community leaders, including the Reverend Chauncey D. Brown, criticized the policy, arguing that Black neighborhoods already struggle with issues like homelessness and crime are unfairly burdened. With more than 38,000 mostly South American migrants arriving and the city spending more than $300 million, tensions have risen as Chicagoans question resource allocation. The recent decision to evict migrants who overstay in shelters sparked backlash from immigrant rights groups and concerned residents. Executive Director of Equity and Transformation in Chicago, Richard Wallace, is emphasizing the importance of building racial solidarity to avoid competition for opportunities. Former Philadelphia police officer Edsal Mendoza has pleaded guilty to third-degree murder in the fatal shooting of 12-year-old Thomas Siderio. Mendoza fired 3 shots at Siderio during a pursuit, with the final 2 shots being fired when Siderio was unarmed and potentially surrendering. The incident occurred in March 2022, prompting charges of first-degree murder, third-degree murder, and other offenses against Mendoza. Philadelphia District Attorney Larry Krasner emphasized the need for accountability, highlighting that justice should be impartial. Mendoza's guilty plea is a rare instance of accountability in police violence cases amid growing scrutiny of such incidents. Sentencing details are pending on the information from Mendoza's defense team and a pre-sentencing investigation. This case adds to a recent trend of increased prosecution of police brutality incidents nationwide. A groundbreaking move by some lawmakers aims to tackle the obesity and diabetes epidemics with the Childhood Diabetes Reduction Act. The bill, introduced by Senators Bernie Sanders, Cory Booker, and Peter Welch, proposed a federal ban on junk food ads targeting children. It mandates warning labels on unhealthy foods and beverages. Sanders emphasizes the need to prioritize children's health over corporate profits, comparing it to past action against the tobacco industry. Sanders said nearly 30 years ago, Congress had the courage to take on the tobacco industry, whose products killed more than 400,000 Americans every year. He says it is time to act with the same sense of urgency to combat diabetes and obesity epidemics. The legislation aims to curb the $14 billion spent annually on marketing unhealthy products and safeguard children's health. With more than 35 million Americans battling with type 2 diabetes, 90% of them whom are overweight or obese, the bill's proponents argue for urgent action to avert escalating health and economic burdens. A report by Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz alleges that the Biden administration is suppressing intelligence regarding U.S. military relations with Niger. Gaetz claims U.S. troops in Niger are stranded without essential support, like medicine and mail. Last month, Niger's ruling junta denounced the U.S. and announced ending the counterterrorism partnership and revoking agreements allowing U.S. presence. Gaetz accuses the U.S. Embassy in Niger of covering up the diplomatic failures, dismissing intelligence from sources like the Air Force's Office of Special Investigations. Service members report discrepancies between the reality on the ground and embassy reports. The State Department denies the allegations. General Michael Langley of AFRICOM told U.S. media outlet The Intercept they are seeking clarification from Niger. Amid escalating conflict in Burma's Rakhine state, thousands of Rohingya refugees are gathering along the Burma-Bangladesh border, seeking safety. Displaced by clashes between junta forces and insurgent groups, Rohingya communities are fleeing villages to escape violence. According to Rohingya leaders, about 200 refugees have crossed into Bangladesh, risking their lives on small boats to reach Cox's Bazar refugee camps. That is where over 1 million Rohingya have sought shelter since 2017, following a Burmese military genocide targeting their community. Recent attacks by rebel groups have worsened the situation, prompting further displacement. The Rohingya report fleeing heavy shelling and violence in Burma, with families separated and uncertain of their loved ones' whereabouts. Bangladeshi authorities are currently vigilant against any influx of refugees, tightening security along the border, even though no significant increase in arrival has yet to be reported. The Chinese government has banned Uyghurs from using social media, threatening arrests, hefty fines, and other penalties. The ban forbids Uyghurs using social media apps like TikTok and platforms to evade censorship. Access to platforms like Twitter and YouTube, as well as cryptocurrency trading, has also been restricted. Ilshat Hassan Kokbore of the World Uyghur Congress says the move is seen as a precursor to intensified oppression by China. Police have already begun conducting phone checks and issuing warnings against VPNs and foreign websites. Sophie Richardson from Human Rights Watch says the ban follows a meeting stressing secrecy in Uyghur-majority Northwest China and suggests a failure in Chinese policies. In the past, crackdowns involved surveillance apps and arrests based on social media activity, which observers say highlights China's extensive monitoring of Uyghurs. That's all from our Toronto studios tonight. Thank you for tuning in. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon for the latest updates. Your support is needed more now than ever to continue our mission of providing informative, educational, and inspiring content to Muslims in North America and around the world. Please scan the QR code on our broadcast or visit muslimnetwork.tv/donate. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV or visit muslimnetwork.tv. Assalamu alaikum and good night.